Ladies and gents, we are back with another podcast, and I am really excited because we had quite a few people that DM'd me and said, please, can we get this guy on? And we have Kev, prestige painter, award-winning decorator.
Yeah.
Just been talking off camera about something else, which I'll let you explain when we get to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, big thanks for travelling down. And I want to sort of get you on, talk about, all the fun stuff that you did before you got into doing what you're doing.
There's a bit of it.
Because it sounds really, really good and I'm jealous. So on the podcast, I don't know whether you've seen it before, we take people back. You left school, give us your sort of journey to here, because I'm sure so many people interact with you on social, see your page, see your work, and you only see one side of the guest. So we want to get you on, sort of open you up and tell your story. So I'm gonna pass it over to you and give us a little bit of backstory as to how you got to where you are now.
So backstory of the prestige painter. So if we're going to take it right back, school.
Yeah.
So school that dismissed it really because I was always going to be a footballer. Yeah. So the school was quite happy to send me off to play football because there was a financial benefit to them. So it was.
I never knew that.
Yeah, I think it's changed these days, but. Back then, in those days,
otherwise they'd all be going off to play.
Yeah. But back in them days, that's how old I am now. But back in those days, I think people said it about £1,000 every time I went.
Who paid that? The FA?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, the school's FA. Yeah, to the schools. So they were very happy for me to go. So all I was going to be was a footballer. That's all I was interested in, and to the point where GCSEs, back in those days, when certainly with the PE element. Because I'd played at county level of football, you automatically got an A in your practical. So my folks go up to the school before we take the GCSEs, and the PE teacher says to them, all he's got to literally do to get a C is get his name right. And then anything else, he'll get higher than a C.
Don't tell me you spelled your name.
I got a C. So I got my name right.
I love that.
But that's how I wasn't academic at that point.
Yeah. I don't think anybody really. I'll tell a lie because we've had one or two. Jack will back me up on this that have, but the majority that come on here, I feel like school just wasn't for them.
Yeah, it's academic and being physical, two completely different elements. I find that a lot of people I speak to in the construction world have a lot of common sense.
Yeah.
Where I speak to friends who are from an intelligence background, do real high-end jobs.
Yeah. But then common sense.
But common sense sort of misses them out.
Yes.
So there is a difference in people, I believe.
Yeah.
There'll always be the odd people in between. But, yeah, so school just didn't work for me. So did what I needed to do, got a C in PE, nothing else, and I was off to be a footballer. Then I didn't. So things changed a bit. So obviously all I had really was the fact that I had some PE knowledge. So I went to college after that, after getting released at 18.
I mean, this is one thing that you hear on a few other podcasts. Like, how is that mentally for obviously such a young age? Who was it? Was it Chris Tominey? He was going to play professional rugby, and then he got released, and he said it was absolutely devastating. He said because all he'd ever thought about was, I am going to be a rugby player. Yeah,
and when I got released that day, I apart from being in the office, being told, when you're walking in the office, you're thinking, oh, yeah, you're a Billy big-time young kid, I'm the best. You walk into that office thinking, oh, is it going to be a year's contract, 2-year contract? How much they're going to be paying me to walk out knowing you've got nothing?
Yeah.
I don't remember anything more from walking out of that office door on that day. It was just like, it's just a blank because I was completely devastated.
Did you try and continue the football? Or?
Yeah, I played semi-professional football. The good thing with a professional club is when you get released, certainly back then, is they put you in line with a semi-professional club that's probably been watching you while you've been an apprentice footballer, probably had the heads up that he wasn't going to make it, so they've been probably watching you behind the scenes. And I went there and I signed a contract for a year as a semi-professional at that particular club, and after 2 matches that got ripped up.
Right.
Because I was Billy Big Time. I just wanted to, I believed I was a Premier League player.
Yeah.
And I was now playing in the Vauxhall Conference for a team where he was travelling on a Wednesday night to the other end of the country on their coach, where I had to travel an hour to get to the coach, and then you're getting back at 4 o'clock in the morning and you've played 5 minutes in the rain.
Yeah.
And I thought, that ain't what I was expecting from this. So that got tore up, and then I played for another local semi-pro team and did that for a couple of years, and then I was like...
Did you lose
I fell out.
Lose the love?
Yeah, fell out with it. And as much as everyone tried to convince me to carry on, I just played Sunday League football then. Just went around, I guess. My dad used to call it pot hunting. So I'd just go and all those guys that had played at a decent level all played together on a Sunday, and then went and played for the team that would pay for our football boots.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then we would win everything, and then we'd go to a different one and try it with them. Yeah. So, and then I guess adding to the backstory from that, from being a footballer and being at the college, I probably spent the next 4 years at college because I had a good life, because at college you get the student grants, so I was sort of still living the football dream, if you like, at college, even though I wasn't a footballer anymore. But everyone knew me at the local college as the footballer, so I sort of lived a lifestyle around that until it was a Sunday lunchtime, and my dad literally said to me, he said, "I've got you an apprenticeship." I said, right. Just thought it was a throwaway thing. Right, okay, yeah, good, right. I'm thinking, what am I waiting for college tomorrow? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, you start tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. with me. And he worked at a truck dealership. Yeah. And he'd signed me up there without my knowledge, because he'd had enough of me just going to college and doing nothing with my life, and said...
How old are you at this time?
I'm 22. 22. So... old for an apprentice.
So he wants you out there.
Yeah. He's thinking, this is going nowhere. I'm never getting him out of the house, ever. So the very next day I started as an apprentice technician, which was never something I ever thought of. But I very quickly realised that I was a bit older than a lot of the other apprentices on the course, and it was, I reckon I could do this, because I suddenly realised that was actually why I probably was a good footballer. Because I had that in me, that I needed to be the best at whatever I was doing. I had to be able to be the best at that I could be. Side. Yeah, the competitive side that was ingrained in me from being a footballer. So, and 2 years later, I won Lincolnshire Apprentice of the Year for being a mechanic. If you ask me now, I can't do anything more than replace a bloody wheel. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't remember any of it.
Cars have moved on a bit though.
Yeah. And it wasn't for me, but what it did do was put me in a position where I saw what dealerships were about. Yeah. And I was very quickly, once I finished my apprenticeship, I was like, I don't want to get my hands dirty anymore at this stage of my life. It's not for me. Although I've got this and I've been rewarded and with a job as well at the end of the apprenticeship, I was like, I want to do more than this.
So how long did you do that for? Technician stuff?
I literally was a technician 6 months after completing my apprenticeship before I decided this wasn't for me. Yeah. And I looked at a few jobs, and there was a job for a workshop controller at a Volkswagen dealership. And I was like, I'll give it a go. I'll probably be too young. They won't want me. Anyway, fortunate for me, she ended up being one of the best mentors you could ever want. But I didn't know that at the time. So I go in for this interview, and this woman, she's like, I'm the dealer principal here. We're looking to grow our business. Where it's been very old school, and we're looking at creating a new type of dealership, and we want young blood. I'm like, right.
Sign me up.
How have I fluked applying for this job at this time? Yeah. So went through the interview. Next day she rang me and said, "Job's yours. When can you start?" So I handed my notice in, said bye to my dad, thanks for that, and off I went, and workshop control there, progressed to service manager, after sales manager, and within 2 years I was the group after sales manager. So I learned a lot from learning from others. And that's a skill. She actually called me, my nickname was Sponge.
Yeah, it's quite humbling after you, because I know, like you talk about footballers, you have to have that self-belief, but then you don't really, you think you can do everything yourself.
Yeah.
So it's quite humbling when you then realise actually you do need other people to help you
along the way. Yeah, and that was probably one of the big things in life that I learned at that moment. I understood that's what you need. You can't do it all on your own. Yeah, there's life skills that you need to learn, or else you're never going to create some of certainly I like to call it my monster of a business that I have now.
Yeah.
So I worked alongside her, and then the time came where I was ready for her job. And I wanted her job, if you like, but that was never going to happen at that dealership. And it was the first time I decided I was leaving. I got offered a job in Liverpool, so it was a big move. I handed my notice in, and she told me to get out the office. The minute I did, told me to get out of the office. So I left the office. I was like, And then about an hour later, in my office, I got a phone call, and it was from her. Said, "Can you come back in? We need to talk." So I went back in, and she was in tears. She was like, "I can't believe you want to leave us. Why? And obviously,
because I want your job."
yeah. Obviously, I didn't want to say that to her right in front of her face, but in essence, she knew. She actually said to me, "You're not ready for it. Yeah, when you are ready for it, is the point when everyone will be able to tell you you're ready for it. I'll come to you and tell you you're ready for it when you're ready for
That's
it."
That's a politician answer, that.
So, and I was like, I said, "Well, I could do with an extra 10 15 grand though."
Yeah.
And they give me it to stay. So, and I thought that was great for 6 months. And then I realised
it was the wrong move.
It was nothing to do with money. It was to do with
the progression.
Yeah. So I found the same company, but a different dealership came asking the question. So I handed my notice in again, and she said, this time, to
I'll
be
give
fair,
you another 10 grand.
yeah, to be fair, there was a bit of a conversation like that, but she knew deep down at that point she tried her best to keep me, and then she had to let me go. So this is really crazy, but the bit I didn't realise was she took over at the same job that I'd just been offered, but as a group job.
Right.
So I was going to be doing her job, but she was doing the job because it was a bigger group.
Yeah.
So she was
still overseeing you.
Yeah, and she was still my mentor. So I got to go to this new job, the bigger job, her job, but still with her mentoring me, which was, it was amazing. And I had one other mentor, because I did mention there was two, and he actually worked for Volkswagen, so down at Milton Keynes head office, and his name was Chris Ward. And I will say now, sadly, both of them died last year, which was really sad for me because I'd kept in contact with them the whole time.
Yeah.
They were like family to me, so it was quite sad, but great people, and they would love the fact that I'm here and talking about this, and certainly Julie would. She'd be like, "That's you. That's where you need to be." And so I met him, and from a Volkswagen's perspective, he was like very much like, right, these are the brand values. This is what we are. This is what we're all about. You need to align yourself with Volkswagen as much as you align yourself with your dealership. And I know that's going to be hard, but that's sort of what we expect from someone in that job role. So I was like, right, okay. And then he went, and there is a side thing. They've offered you this job as dealer principal, but you have to be a qualified one before you can actually have the job. I was like, did not know that. So I actually managed to get the job, do the job, while I was doing the training to become the dealer principal, signed off by Volkswagen, because it can only be signed off by Volkswagen. So I spent 2 years doing that whilst doing the job. And then it was probably the most nervous time of my life, to be honest, because you get at the very end of the training, what you have to do is produce a 2-hour presentation to the UK director of Volkswagen in his office at Milton Keynes. And you even get scored on how close you are to the 2 hours. Now, that was something if you said to me now, I would be like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was very much saying, I definitely cannot do that. Yeah. And I did it, and I was about a minute short.
Some people really struggle with like public speaking, don't
they? Yeah.
My wife's one of them.
Really?
Like, more than 3 people, she's got to talk in front of it. She'd be terrified.
Yeah. How did you learn that you could do that?
It's sort of semi-forced, but I feel like the more like we're talking now, I still look back. Jack will tell you the first ever podcast I sat there with these little cue cards, and I kept looking down, And I remember watching it back thinking, why have I got them there? And it looked really disjointed. And I thought, I've got to get rid of them. I was like, it doesn't matter whether or not I mess up or whatever. And I think I put that much pressure on myself, not realising that actually we can edit it.
Right, yeah.
And then I thought, right, if I make a mistake, I'll just go back and then we scrap it and Jack can edit it out. And then I had to really work because I always go, yeah, after everything. And I had to work on not going, and eventually you get sort of semi-used to it. But the public speaking someone, if we're going to stand up in front of somebody, I always think, well, if I don't do it, someone else needs to do it, and I need to do it.
Yeah.
And it was almost like I was going into battle. I'd G'd myself up that I had to, get up there and talk. I mean, we used to do meetings out there, staff meetings, and my sister would never do them.
Really?
It was always me that had to stand up in front of all the members of staff, say, this is what's happening this month, this is what's happening. And whether or not I'm any good at it, I just think you got to have a go.
You got to have a go, yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. So, yeah, that's probably similar.
But it's hard. It's hard.
I've done it plenty of times.
Especially when there's, a job riding on it or, money riding on it as well.
Yeah, it was pretty hard. And he was a German guy, and as Volkswagen, most of Volkswagen are. And it's, very... And the processes that Volkswagen taught me, I still use today. That's one of the fundamental elements of my business. And probably one of the reasons I've been a success in the decorating world, because I stick to...
You've seen how a good business operates.
Yeah. And some of the things you think, but actually when you don't do them, that's when something goes wrong. Yeah. Because processes are put there for a reason. Yeah. If you try and rewrite them, it goes wrong, because guess what? Someone's already tried it and decided that isn't part of the process. But yeah, so where was I? So
dealer principal.
Dealer principal. So got that job done. Yeah, in there, and then once I got my, as we used to call it in that trade, was the ticket. Yeah, and another dealer group came in and eye-watering amount of money offer. Come and do this.
It's like transfer window.
Oh, it was, yeah, and that's how it felt for me.
Peter Road and Wingy.
That's how I felt. But because obviously I was in that world before, stuff like that. It was like
Harry Redknapp side.
Yeah, it felt like that because there were bigger dealerships each time. Big ones that everyone. I'm not going to mention them, but if you mention them, a majority
like
of people,
the Real Madrid of.
Yes, they would know who they are. Yeah. And so I couldn't say no, but it meant I had to relocate from where at the time my marriage was, and that wasn't going to move. The wife wasn't going to move, so that was fine. So I went, took the job, and had the time of my life, and probably lived a bit of a footballer lifestyle, and that marriage didn't work, so that ended. But that was probably the start of the journey of the decorating, to be honest, because although my marriage didn't work, which at the time, to me, that wasn't the be-all and end-all, like it should be. But I did have a young daughter. So what I did figure out by the wife saying that, at the time, the ex-wife, I sort of did realise that actually I'm missing my daughter here, missing her grow up, and these are times you're never ever going to get back. So
I think when especially guys, when we're younger, very selfish.
Yeah.
And you don't want to... you get kids and it's all of a sudden it's like, well, I don't get any time to myself.
Yeah. Agreed, 100%. And I think it was probably... So we're at 30 now. I'm 30.
Yeah.
So, and the Volkswagen job, it was very much all or nothing. You spent hours there.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was the youngest ever Volkswagen Audi group dealer principal, and I don't know if I still am, but I was back in that day. So it was like everything seemed really glamorous and ticking the right boxes. So I missed all that going on, if you like, back at home. So the realisation when that happened that I wasn't actually spending any time with my daughter was probably the start of, although I didn't know it at the time, right at that moment, it was going to be in the decorating world. So I handed my notice in, and luckily I'd earned enough money where I could have a bit of time to myself. I'd think about, because the reason I left was because I'm thinking I'm making a lot of money for a lot of people. I've learned all the high-end fundamentals of running businesses. I run a business just for somebody else. And I thought, well, I could maybe do that on my own.
For yourself.
Yeah, but I just didn't know what that was going to be right at that moment. And probably in that 6 months or so, the realisation came that I actually wanted to do something that was active. That I'd been sat in the offices till all hours, and I definitely didn't want to go back to that world. And in that time, I had friends, family saying, "Oh, while you're off, could you come and do this? Could you come and do that for me?" And most of that was painting, decorating. So then I thought to myself, well, when I've put my mind to it, I've achieved it. So let's go down the decorating route. I think I can do this. So obviously lots and lots of research, and I made a company up. At the time it was called KB Decorating Services, locally, just for the town that I was living in, just to see if I could, I needed something to practice on, if anything, because I'd run out of walls at home. So I just, usually my marketing and my sales that I'd learned throughout my time at Volkswagen, I just put a thing out there that no one else was doing and did a summer special for 100 quid. Come and paint all your rooms for 100 quid. All your walls, for 100 quid. And I was like, and everyone caught that, but that wasn't actually what I was doing. That was the hook. Yeah, so I already knew I wasn't going around to quote. It was because the 100 quid had sold it. What I was going around for was I would position it that I need to come around just to check, just see the size and everything, make sure I can do it in the day. Yeah. And then when I got around there, I'd use my experience within the sales and, oh, your woodwork's looking a bit yellow. Well, if you have your woodwork done, your ceiling really going to look dull. Should we do that at the same time? And by the time I'd walked out, I was getting £300. And I was knocking those out every day, working long hours, but I was getting to practice on different things and understanding and buying tools that everyone was saying, raving about. You must use this. I'd buy that, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, this is. And then obviously that just grew into me getting better and better at doing it. And then I was just like, we need to evolve a bit now. And I thought, but my marketplace currently sees me as that person. So I need to evolve out of that and into something else that's going to drive my business forward. So we went from doing that, from the KB Decorating Services to the KB Prestige Decorating, which is what my business is called in Lincolnshire now. So the prestige element being that I needed to hire my quality in my local area, but everyone knew me as KB, so I had to keep the KB in there. So KB Prestige Decorating, so everyone knew we'd gone up a level. And obviously seen all my posts. I used to post Sunday, 7 o'clock at night, prime time, just pictures of the jobs that I'd done. And then I'd get 10, 15 people asking for quotes the following week. That, for 2 or 3 years, solid.
What was that on like local Facebook groups?
Yeah. So what I found quite quickly, probably above other certainly local decorators to me, was an element of jumping on Facebook and seeing what it can do for me. How can it work for me rather than it just being me posting pictures? So I quite quickly found out by just, I suppose, probably looking at other businesses, what they were doing, not in the decorating world, but why is it working for them businesses? But it don't go out to any more than 5 people on mine. And what I found was that setting up on your feed, you can put it into groups, local groups. So what I did was I said to myself, right, where do I want to travel to? What's my radius? And then I just joined each of those groups and then started putting my posts in there on a Sunday at 7 o'clock. And then all of a sudden I had 35 people saying, can you come round and decorate? Like there was a quotation. I was like, right, we've stumbled on something here. And I had decorators coming up to me in the local merchant going,
how are you so busy?
How?
You've got the cheat code.
Yeah. So obviously I didn't tell them at that point because obviously I had that to myself. And and then obviously people catch on and obviously probably everyone does it now. But that was the start of me being on the social media and it was starting to be a success.
Was Facebook the first social platform then? Have you got an actual Facebook page?
Yeah, just for my KB Prestige. I don't like to muddy the waters. So Prestige Painter is Instagram, just started YouTube.
Yeah.
But KB Prestige Decorating is for Facebook because that's for my business.
Yeah.
That's not for my ego and the prestige painter and working with suppliers and from that point and advertising other things apart from trying to get more work, because Instagram won't bring you, or certainly not for me, it won't bring me work because my work's local to where I am. But Facebook was the one that got me going, but it is just my KB Prestige Decorating on there. But yeah, so then we move forward and we need a name for Instagram because Instagram suddenly becomes a thing that everyone's getting into. And I was like, I can be good at this, I reckon. So I put my time into it and let's have a go at this because we're producing the work on the walls for all our customers. So let's tell more people about it.
Well, the content, in essence, is free because you're doing it. All you got to do is turn the camera on.
Exactly, yeah. We just got to turn the camera on what we do day in, day out. So I needed a brand name rather than the KB Prestige Decorating. So
it's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah, and I didn't think it would be great. Say if I got to let's say...
like when you win an award, which you obviously
don't want.
It does sound, I'll give it to you, it does sound good, the prestige painter.
Yeah, and so a lot of time went into that.
Yeah.
To find the right name, and there was a few others that may have been a success, but I've never looked. I've thought that is the one. That is the one for me, and it's sort of gone from there. And so's my business. More importantly, from a personal point of view, because my business is a success that I aimed it at.
Yeah, I mean, like when I'm listening to this, it sounds like you've done a few little things that just help market your business. What would you say was the main one? Would you say it was the Facebook, or was it, if you hadn't have done the Facebook and then changed your name, would it have worked? Because I always find when you do a few things together, all of a sudden you go, rather than it just being there, it seems to just take off like a rocket. Because for people listening and watching, I know there's some people that are really good marketeers.
Yeah.
If you've worked in car dealerships, you've got to be able to sell something.
100%,
Do you know what I mean? Simon Bowler, who came on, he was the same, and he said that helped him with his business. But what would you say to somebody then that like you have to do if you're struggling to sort of generate leads or generate jobs or price jobs? What would you? Would you say, look at what your name is? Would you say the way your van's sign written? Would you, or would you say it's a combination?
Yeah. So I did quite a bit of mentoring for people, free of charge, just literally people who I take on because I've had a success from being chosen to be mentored by two people in my life. I've always seen that as a positive thing to do for people. So I have a few currently at the minute who have just come out their apprenticeships and they're working for somebody, but looking to go solo. So I do a bit of work with them on a slow basis. Do you know what I mean? Because if you throw something at someone, it'll just blow their mind. If you throw everything.
Overwhelming you.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially certainly at the young age. We were just talking about what I was doing at that age. Do you know what I mean? So,
don't want to think
what
about
was you doing?
Don't want to think about that.
Exactly. So there's a lot going on anyway. So just giving them little nuggets.
There wasn't a lot going on with me back then. Girls and partying, that was it.
Well, yeah, exactly. And so I do a bit of mentoring now, and what I generally say to them is it's put the pieces together, but in a very professional way. You need to come across very professional. So you could have two decorators, let's say, in our industry. You could have them equally good at decorating. Both, let's say, can deliver the perfect finish every time. Yeah. But one could be hugely successful and the other always looking for work, always 1-2 weeks lead time, where the other's 6-7 months. And that a lot of, I believe, is down to, because it's the public who are paying you and it's public perception, and that doesn't go away. And I think being professional, and certainly from another stand as well, from Instagram and talking to suppliers and being able to get deals with suppliers and contracts with them guys.
I think when brands start approaching you as well, you've got to have some sort of professionalism.
100%.
Otherwise, it's just they sort of look and think, well, we want you to sort of be a certain way because that's how we see the brand.
Yeah,
But if you're not, sometimes it doesn't work.
You need to be aligned with them, and it's having an understanding of. So, say when a brand comes to me and says, "Would you do some work with us?" I don't just yes or a no. It's I'll go and have a look at their brand, spend some time. Do I? Because it's not just working for them.
It's got to work
for you as well.
Yeah.
So you look at what their brand alignment is. So what do they look to do? What do they measure? What are their principles? What are they looking to get out of it? And if that aligns with exactly what I'm about, and it's quite easy for them to find me because the prestige painter, it sort of half tells a story in the first place without them having to look too much into me. And then if everything lines up, it's quite a good way to get into some big suppliers, which I have a good time with. I get more than I ever expected. Yeah. And I have a great life working with suppliers as well as my customers. Yeah. As well. So it goes in hand in hand with my business. Like I say, as it is with most brand ambassadors or influencers, we're doing the job, like you said at the start, by the Facebook post. You're doing the job anyway. You've just got to incorporate what that supplier is after. Yeah. Which, obviously, with our suppliers in the decorating world, most of it's decorating suppliers. Although I've done one recently with Ridge Wallets. They came and approached me. And InstaSleep, have you heard of those? They do
the Ridge Wallet.
The Ridge Wallets, yeah. So they come and wanted to incorporate their wallets into the construction world. So they approached me. I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." And it you have to.
I mean, this is like I know I always say I bang on about social media, but just the opportunities that are there, And I said this to Kai earlier. Like when you go out and you film, sometimes you're getting invited to places, and you think, "How have I ended up here?" You do good work, but you're like, how have I ended up here?
Yeah.
And it's like the experiences that you actually get. And I always try and say to people, look, you're putting your work out anyway. Eventually somebody comes along, finds you, wants to work with you, and then you end up doing stuff that you think, you know what, actually it's more fun than going to work.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%, yeah. Yeah, and I get it all the time. Like with the Ridge Wallet, that was just crazy to get an email from them to go, we're looking to get in the construction market. Will you do this? It's like, yeah, okay then. And there's what we'll pay you. And it's like, I'll have some of that. And it's happened with a few. There's some as well that's come, and I'm like, I can't piece that into the world.
There's some that you wouldn't use.
Yeah, and just it would never be for me. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? The Ridge Wallet, it's a Ridge Wallet, and it was a key holder. The key holder was brilliant because I hadn't got rattling keys off my van when you're driving along, because it holds them up, and it worked for me. And I can show that, and I can show the wallet off. It's really easy, but there is some things out there that's come along and I've thought, don't really fit in the decorating world. Yeah. But I enjoy making content as well, so that keeps me open to more ideas and looking at ways that I can incorporate certain asks from suppliers that maybe other people might not be able to do. So because I enjoy doing it. Yeah. And again, going back to I reckon I can, so I have to, because that's my mentality. So yeah. But an interesting story, just going back to my business as the KB Prestige Decorating. So it incorporated back in the day of me playing football for Grimsby Town. So I get a message through from the customer who's the wife of who we're about to talk about. So I never thought about anything with the name. So I get the address, turn up. When I said I was going to get to the gate, and I'm like, wow, I can see the house. Press the intercom, the gates open up, and there's this long driveway leading up to the house. I'm like, wow, this is a bit of me, this is where I need to be. Yeah. I'm like, this is mental why we're here. So I knock on the door, and the guy answers, and I'm like, I recognise you. I'm like, but I've not got any idea who you are, but I definitely recognise you. And he says to me, "Hi,
Lord Sugar."
That would probably have been a better one.
I don't know what I'm doing in that scenario.
That would have been a better in the end, but because it's someone who you won't know, but was a big factor and makes this a fun story, to be fair, as well. So he says, "Hiya, Kevin," and I'm like, "The way you've said that, you definitely know me, and I definitely know your face, so I definitely have probably come across you before." And he says, "So, you've come to do this quote." He said, "When I was the financial director at Grimsby Town, when you was 15, 16, we had you down as making us probably £1 million in profit when we sold you. So I'm expecting the quote to be free." And I was just like, wow.
You're like, "But you didn't sell me. I didn't get the sign on for it."
Yeah.
Because otherwise I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Do your job.
Yeah, if you'd done your job properly, I would have been somewhere. But and the fun part about
Who was
that
he going to sell you to?
Well, no, it's
was it
just
that
as
was
a financial director.
That's the price they would have put on it.
That at the time, because of where I was, who I was playing for England, playing for county, and what he told me while I've been there since, and I never knew any of this when I was younger. Yeah. Stories he told me, because we've done the whole house now over the last few years since we've known it, since we've sort of he's become our customer, and he took me around because he's got a snooker room where he's actually got a snooker table that he bought from the Crucible when they'd finished with it. Right, and he wanted us to decorate in there. Well, in the end, he deterred from that because he found out to move the Crucible snooker table, it was going to be 5 times the price it was of me to decorate it. And it wasn't that bad. It was only a refresh in his mind. So he did away with that. But in there is all the Grimsby Town photos and stuff like that from his time there. And I'm on a few of them. But one of the stories was the reason that they came to £1 million at that point was, which seriously, I never even knew this until very, very recent, within the last few years, when he told me, was that. So I went and had some trials at Nottingham Forest, which was a bit naughty because I was signed at Grimsby Town. But as you're kids, it's hard to. You can probably hide it. Certainly in them days, easier than it is. A lot of that
stuff goes on,
Yeah. So I go down there and I'm like, I go training down there and we're training on the pitch, but the first team Forest players are on the other one, and then Stuart Pearce there, and his legs like as big as me, each leg. And I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. And they called me back, and I kept going down there. But what I didn't, and then all of a sudden it stopped, and I never knew why. But my parents never told me because they didn't want it to confuse me, which is what they tell me. Because I went to them and said, "What is this story true?" And they was like, "Yeah, we forgot to tell you about that." So what he was telling me was that they actually approached Forest and said, "You need to stop taking this kid training, and you can't have him if you're going to continue it." Yeah, there's our thing from our solicitors to say you can't approach him, because what they knew was at that time, until I was 16, they could never get a fee from me anyway.
Yeah.
And because I wasn't quite 16 yet, they had to stop me going to Forest almost voluntarily, because then they would have nothing.
Yeah.
So this is just the stories from a customer. This customer I hadn't seen. Well, I'd never probably ever really met him. Certainly when I was that age, I didn't know who he was. And it's just like, to find all that information out 20 years later, it was just like, wow. And it sort of brought all that back. And then it was probably that drove me to do the Instagram, to be honest, because I've probably only been on Instagram a couple of years. And it was probably knowing that where it sort of gave me a bit more, let's go again, because I felt like I was nearly making a footballer again. And I thought, I want to do something here to highlight myself, because no one else will. Only yourself will promote yourself the best. So sort of went down that route, and and we're here today. And it's crazy journey that I've been on, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, so you've done all this. Where did the awards and other stuff that you've achieved, where did that come from? Where, what point were you with the? Because I'm always fascinated when somebody reaches like 30 or slightly older and then goes into a trade, because at that moment in time, normally you've got a lot more risk and responsibility,
of course,
kids, mortgage, all that sort of stuff. So I always, applaud somebody like that. When you're young, I feel like you can go and do stuff, and if you fail, it doesn't really matter.
Of course, yeah.
So when did all that sort of stuff start coming through with the awards? You start looking at yourself thinking, this is an actual business. I've got something here.
Yeah, probably. I got invited.
And is the award I know obviously being competitive, it's not a be all and end all, but does it sort of solidify that actually the decision I made was right?
Yeah. The day I won the award that I won, it was just like I felt like I couldn't do anything. It was like because in my head I was thinking I've achieved what I wanted to achieve. Because this is like telling me this is because the award that I won was voted for as well. So it wasn't just by 3 judges. It was an award where the general public voted and across social medias. And it was just like, wow, from seeing my work. And what made it even better was the project that I actually won the award for, the customers were more over the moon than I was for me. Because of the hard work they'd seen the bit that all the other voters hadn't seen.
Who just see the pictures?
Yes, and they'd seen and they were just like over the moon. Obviously, it was great for them because they've spent it up.
It's an award-winning house.
yeah, and they loved that. They loved that, and
that's an extra mil onto my.
Because it was a full renovation job, and lovely people, and still pop in and say hi every now and again, and they ask for updates on my social media because they're in the age group, if you like, for prime Instagram. Yeah. So they were like, wow, this is amazing and stuff like that. But winning that award, it was like, it does give you that, it's almost like a numb feeling, to be honest. It's not that where you'd expect, like, I've won the award. It's not, it really wasn't like that. It was like...
I think for tradespeople as well, because it's not something where a lot of the Joe public really look at it and think, you're a tradesperson. But actually, I think all these awards, whether it's on the tools or, some of these electrical awards or whatever it is, I think it's great to just be recognised, by your peers, but also be recognised by Joe public.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
because mine was voted for by both, it did make it more special, I guess. And but the question you asked was when that side of it sort of start. I got invited when it was KB decorating services still. At that point, I got invited to the final of the Johnstons Painter of the Year. And I knew I was never going to win that, but I got to sit down, go through the motions, see all that happening, see what the standard was, and I was just like, wow, I need to be one of these. I need to be like almost to the point where even though I knew I wasn't going to win that because I found out you get the nod before the nights to make sure you're there with whoever you want to be with there. Yeah. But it was like, when they go, and the winner is, I was almost like, it could still be me. So I was just like, and then I was gutted it wasn't.
You did a Kanye on Taylor Swift. That have been accepted it. Okay.
It was almost like that, and I was just like, no, but I know I'm going to win this, but I definitely want to win something.
Yeah. But when you go to one like that, just to be there, and then you think it probably gives you a bit of motivation to go away and actually go.
100%. And they look at that was a big brand awards, and the night was
a big company.
Yeah, and the night is a bit special. Don't get me wrong, and just to be involved in that was just like, because not everyone gets that, and so I was like so over the moon and so happy to be involved in something that's that big in the decorating world that it was just like, right, I need to get amongst this. So it went on from there really. But going back to the mentoring, the reason I like to do the mentoring and the business element is because I want to see people come through who might ordinarily not, just because they didn't have a mentor and they didn't understand what it takes, which isn't a lot. I've done it. I'm a failed footballer and I've managed to do it. So I know that everyone can do it, just given the right tools along the way at the right time. And because I had the luxury of getting that without asking for it. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, right, how can we create more people out there in the decorating world, which, as we all know in the trades, there isn't the amount of people there needs to be.
I'd say you're very rare in that sense, and I feel like more so now than ever, there's not many people that want to transfer that knowledge or or help to others. Like we have people that come on, and I completely respect it when people say, I don't want to take an apprentice on because it slows me down, or you know, they cost a lot of money. I mean, we had Royal Spa Decoration, James, isn't it, from there, and he was talking about literally the cost of insurance just on the van.
Oh, yeah.
And I completely get that, but I always think on the flip side, a bit like even if you haven't got an apprentice, you're helping apprentices, but you're coaching them on the business side.
Yes.
And I think, again, going back to social media, that's one great thing is everybody can share ideas, but I feel that there's a lot of people that have got something, but they're still clinging tight to it, not realising that actually if you give other people a hand up rather than the hand out, then eventually it comes back round.
And that's exactly why I do it, because I feel like if you help people out, eventually people help you out, because that's human nature. Yeah, and it might not necessarily be the people you're helping, but other people notice that, and in time, you'll get a reward by. There's times when you'll need help as a person, as a tradesperson. You'll need that moment, and I feel
it's also good as well when you've done something for somebody and you see them do well, and you're like, actually, I just gave them like a helping hand, but they've gone and smashed.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Don't take anything ever away from the person who you mentor and who you train, whatever it is, because they've still got to do it. All you're doing is going right. There's that tool. Yeah, I did this and it was successful. So chances are it probably will be for you if you do it exactly like this. And they're only just little small things, but they're nuggets that you'll never find unless someone told you. And like you said, a lot of people like to.
Because I never understand that when I talk to some people and they're like, yeah, when I was an apprentice, my boss used to just allow me to make mistakes rather than sort of saying, just try that.
Yeah.
And I always feel like, why would you, you know, there's the shortcuts there.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you're not making your mistakes, are you learning? So it's sort of,
I
see it from.
And I'm probably in the more luxury place where the people I'm mentoring don't work for me. So
if they do, okay. It's not my mistake.
Yeah. So, well, it's I can keep it just to the business element rather than teaching you the job. That's what colleges is for. That's what your employer is for. I'm getting to mentor them into creating their own element.
Which is probably one of the areas where most people, like paperwork, branding, I don't know,
insurance,
scheduling, jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. And even to the point where I don't hold stuff like that. So I've got this girl at the minute, Octavia, great decorator. Yeah, and she actively come to me and said, I want my own business off by the end of this year. I want my own business. I feel like I'm good enough, which she is, absolutely, but I just don't know how to get there. And she won't mind me saying, we've done lots of work together, and we catch up once a month just on FaceTime. We go through a few things because, like, again, I don't want to flood her with too much information, and she takes them on board and it works. And then the next month we try something else that worked for me and it works for Octavia as well. And down to even the terms and conditions, people don't even think about, because at that age, why would you? You just think, I'm off to decorate.
Until you get stung.
Yeah, and I'm happy. I gave her my T's and C's. Do you know what I mean? It's not, at the end of the day, what would be the point of me holding on and trying to get her to do it? If she really wanted to, she'd be able to find or buy them even. So as a mentor and wanting to help people, mine work. There's your T's and C's. There's a template of how to do your quotes. Don't send them on WhatsApp. Yeah. Do you want to look professional? The reason you came to me.
Well, the other thing as well is sending them on email means you've got a record of them.
Of it, yes.
Everything's there.
It's never going. Yeah. Exactly. And
unless you accidentally press the delete
button. But you'll always still be able to recover an email, won't you? And it's amazing that you and me, probably because we've got experience, we know that. But you sort of take it as gospel that everyone knows that.
You're worried more about the job.
Yeah. I've got to get the job right.
Doing a good job.
Yeah, because I need them to say how good I was so I can get the next job. Well, it's not just about that. Actually, what people are saying, it's not. There ain't that many times that I've heard it. Certainly for me, it's not when someone comes to me and goes, "Oh, you've been highly recommended," and it's like, oh, thank you. Yeah, who by? Oh, yes, you were really professional. You tidied up. I'm thinking, I decorate. Look, what about my perfect lines? Do you know what I mean?
Look at the sand in there.
Yeah. They don't mention that. That's not what they're recommending. They're recommending you as a business, and you as a business isn't the lines. Yeah, you as the business is that you're professional. You did what you said. So I turned up when I was going to do the quote. I told you when I was going to send you the quote. It was going to be by email. It comes as email. It's got T's and C's. They know where they're at. Yeah. Then we agree a time to start. We never miss a date. We get there at exactly that time of when we tell the customer, okay, sometime it might be earlier. So we'll say, because you have jobs certainly so you have to move stuff around, but it's only ever earlier. And then they go, oh, yeah, because I've been waiting 6 months. Yeah, I can actually get it done after 3 months, even though I thought it was going to be 6 months. So then that's a bonus to them. So you've got a win there. Yeah. And it's just all those little elements that actually do make the difference between two great decorators, but one doing well. And one not so much so. And that's all it is. And people reach out to me and I'm happy to help. Obviously, I don't want thousands to do it now after hearing that.
You can have a deluge in your inbox.
I like to think that the way I come across on my social media is
that you're approachable.
It's me. There's no facade. It's just me. And people have come to me without hearing this podcast now because it's all happened prior to that. Yeah. And they've come to me and asked me for help on things like that. And it's like, it does make feel good.
Yeah, rewarding.
Very, very much so. Yeah. So, yeah.
Are you wasting time? I think that some of you probably are, and I have a solution for you. Nobody wants to do any type of admin. Now, I have a solution for you, and it is called Tradify. It's a fully automated job scheduling, invoicing, and quoting all in one place. Now, that software is going to save you 12 hours a week, and all by using a simple software solution. Now, you can try it for 2 weeks, absolutely free, no cards needed, and you'll even get support in person from Tradify themselves. Now, when you're done, you can always come back to me and thank me, but just enjoy the extra 12 hours that you're going to gain from just using the software.
I see you wearing Sirit on your workwear there. What's the connection with that?
Yeah, so I'm the brand ambassador for Sirit and have been for a couple of years now. Fantastic company to work with. Whenever I go down to their head office in Portsmouth, they treat me like one of the team. They're probably the best kept secret in the decorating world, but things are changing so that Sirit, one of the reasons that they work with me is to get their name out there more than they ever have done before. And there's more things coming. So, yeah, great company to work for, to be fair. And, yeah, good supplier.
Oh, interesting. So I'm always interested when I see stuff like that on people's workwear and asking them about these companies and how they sort of come together. So
yeah. Well, they came to me a couple of years ago and said we would like to do more socially, and we would like you to do a product. So they do masking tape, brushes. I've been doing the Aluflex tour with them around different stores around the country, which is a skimming blade that skimming your walls so they're nice and smooth. And yeah, just a great company.
Well, good. So what we tend to do now is we do
the
final thought,
the wrap up,
and you can shamelessly plug yourself. You could drop some knowledge. You could tell people this is what I wish I'd have known when I first started out. I mean, anybody that's listening and watching that's going to be going into, it doesn't have to be decorating, but it could be.
I would probably say something that a nugget that I would certainly give everybody who's looking to, in this day and age, be a successful tradesperson off the back of social media as well, is to pitch yourself at your very best and probably at all times. I would say be very professional, show yourself as a brand and be premium with your brand, and not to be shy, because 9 times out of 10, a great tradesman isn't shy when they go around to a customer's house. And I would say the same for their social media. Just be who you are on your social media, and everyone will understand what you're about. And that's the story you're trying to put across.
Yeah. I think everybody's fearful of, I wouldn't call it acceptance, but I'd say how they come across.
Yeah.
And I always think the beauty of social media is not everybody's going to like, I'm quite loud and in your face.
Yeah.
And that turns a lot of people off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But there are certain people that go, actually, I quite like him because he speaks his mind.
And that's entertaining.
There's no waffle.
Yeah.
And I always try and say to people, even if you're a bit more introvert, people will go, do you know what, actually, I can listen to him because he's not all like, rah.
Yeah. And I would quickly take that back again to the football. When I was playing semi-professional, I was playing in front of 1,500 people. Well, you can hear everything everyone ever says when there's 1,500 people in a ground. Yeah. And when you make the wrong pass and someone shouts at you and goes, you wanker. Yeah. You hear it. Yeah. But you've got to carry on playing football because you have to get through past that. And would you say that
football's terrible for that?
Yeah. But you can be Ronaldo, the best player, let's say, in the world. Yeah. There'll still be someone shouting you.
But Dave, who's got a beard and he's 63, knows you should have crossed it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and that's the principle I've always took on. Not everyone's going to love me. Yeah, I don't want them to. No. Do you know what I mean? I put myself out there for people who want to know what I'm doing. And that would just be the thing, to stay safe and mentally strong with it, because it can be a
bear pit.
Oh, it can be, yeah. You just need to refrain from getting involved in it, would be my piece of advice there. But from the decorating point of view, I would just say...
It's all good for the algorithm.
That is all good for the algorithm. But going back to the decorating side of it, as a nugget, is just always look to better yourself. Yeah, if you finish a job and there's an element that you think, oh, I could have done that, do it. Don't leave the job. I know it might be 5 o'clock and you want to get off and you think, I've done it. There's that one bit that you could have just filled that the customer will never see it.
That's the difference between a good job and a really good job.
100%.
Is whether or not if you can convince yourself when you're shattered and you want to go home, to just, that's the difference, I think, with you.
And you have to do it.
And most people won't ever notice. It's just, you will know.
Yeah. And you know, the one person will see it one day, and that would be the downfall for what you're all about. And that one mistake or that one bit where you're just lazy.
Or somebody else comes around that does know what they're talking about. And they go, you seen that?
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, I'd never even seen it.
Yeah.
And then you're like...
Then all of a sudden...
It's ruined everything that you've done,
Yeah, so that would be my nugget. Never forget the little details.
Yeah.
Always finish them off.
I think that's a good bit of advice. Cool. So anyway, I just want to say a big thank you to Kev for coming down.
No worries.
Talking about
it's been great.
Everything that he's done. But if you enjoy these podcasts, do me a massive favour, whether you're listening on Spotify, YouTube, whatever, leave a comment, give us a like, share, subscribe, whatever it is, because it helps enable us to keep doing these great interviews and having great guests on. And basically, you guys get free knowledge from everybody that comes on. So if you do enjoy them,
do it, people.
Yeah, give us a follow, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. So thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me on.